So I want to first of all thank everybody for taking the time to do this and join us for this webinar. This is kind of a snippet of the 2023 Nigel Frank Career and Hiring Guide, Microsoft Business Applications Edition. You know, we do one of these every year, and they've really been a big success for us. I don't know if the PowerPoint presentation is going to do justice to the actual career and hiring guide, like I said, that we're launching next week. But hopefully this gives you some insight into some of the work we've done, honestly, just for all of you, for our customers, end users, partners, candidates out there in the Microsoft ecosystem. This is for you to give you some intel on what we're experiencing as a staffing and consulting company regarding Microsoft, what's important to people, etc. So as I kind of just started to give you a little bit of the agenda and whatnot, but we'll go through a brief introduction. We'll talk about the career and hiring guide and the business applications edition. We'll talk about some of the findings that we have found that we think are pertinent information to you all. We'll kind of recap some of the key takeaways, and then we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this. So I would say put those questions in the chat. We'll address those when we get to the bottom of the presentation. So my name is Patrick. I sit in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been with Nigel Frank for about 8 months, but I've been with Frank Recruitment Group, which is the parent company of Nigel Frank, for about 3 years now. So really excited to do this. I've done some of these before, so this is great. We've gotten good feedback, and that's me.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Joe Swenson. I'm the Chief Sales Officer for FRG. Very excited to be here. I've been in the industry for about 27 years, and I'm excited to talk to you all today about the opportunities in the marketplace.
Hey guys, my name's Robbie Fiorani. I'm a vice president on the Dynamics Contracts Division based out of New York. I've been with Nigel Frank for going on 6.5 years now. Yeah, a little bit about me.
All right, thanks guys. So, I mean, here we are. So this is the career and hiring guide. This is why we're here to talk to you. I think, I'm not going to read off the slides verbatim. You all can do that. But I think what we want to be conscious of is this is about ways for candidates to progress into the Microsoft ecosystem. This is about analyzing job satisfaction within the market, addressing the digital skills gap that is a real thing out there, talking about EDI policies and what organizations are doing to become more diverse and inclusive. We're going to talk about salaries and a lot of other different things. So hopefully there's an area that is important to you. We touch upon it, and if we didn't, please, again, when we get to that Q&A section, bring it up. We'll try to address whatever we can. So real quickly, before we get into the career and hiring guide, the shameless plug here, that is Nigel Frank. We just want you to know a little bit about us as well. So, Nigel Frank is, like I said, a division of Frank Recruitment Group. Like, our sole focus is on candidates and employers that use Microsoft. We don't want to do anything else. We don't try to get out of our lanes too much. We're very laser focused on Microsoft, specifically Dynamics, CRM, Azure, things of that nature. So in our specific database, we've got almost 400,000 Microsoft professionals. We've got 500 experts globally that work for us on multiple different assignments. We've got nearly 150,000 people that subscribe to our email alerts, and about 3 million people a year come to our site. So again, if you're looking for support in any capacity around Microsoft, that's what we're here for. That's who we are, and we'd like to stay true to just that. So the career and hiring guide, we go out. This is an annual industry leading market report. We go out and we talk to employers, candidates, professionals do research. I mean, to the point of having nearly 88,000 data points. We bring all of these things that are important to people working in this specific ecosystem or hiring in this specific ecosystem, and put together this comprehensive report of all their responses, to be completely honest. And we put it together for you so we can talk about this. So as we get into it, we'll talk specifically about those bolded areas in the second bullet there, and hopefully it's you'll find it beneficial.
All right, so let's talk a little about skills and experience. So most of the professionals surveyed have been in the tech industry between 11 to 20 years, and the average working experience with Microsoft Dynamics is about 4 to 6 years, with most professionals working for just 1 year with Microsoft Power Platform. For hiring managers on the call, these stats can be incredibly useful to see what's available on the hiring market. You can draft better job ads, measure your expectations, and optimize your hiring process, and ensure you're not missing any valuable tech talent because they haven't worked with the business applications yet. Tech professionals can bring a new insight, approach, and a set of transferable skills, which in a talent-hungry market like this can be a make or break in your hiring strategy. Now, as we move on to kind of breaking into the industry, obviously experience plays a very, very important role in your value and earning potential as a candidate. It tops the list again this year as the most significant influence on salary, followed by years of experience in tech and exposure to large projects. So to land your dream job, make sure that on your resume, you showcase the work that you've done on large projects, as well as the in-depth look at any work you've done in the business application or IT. Candidates seem to have mixed opinions about the need for a degree to work with business applications, but most believe that you can make yourself more marketable if you have a degree. So if you're just getting started with the business apps or seeking a way to enter the industry competitively, certifications definitely may help. Back over to you, Pat.
Yeah. So why do certifications matter? I think, a lot of people on this call will think, you have to have a cert, right? It's that differentiator when you're apples to apples with another, individual with your same skill set, and you have a cert and they don't. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think other people on this call will say, well, experience and that trumps all, right? That's the ultimate thing. So we go out and we do the research like we said we do. So that little blurb there on the right, that 81% of employers either fully or partially pay for a certification. So when I'm thinking about that, whether or not I think a certification is important, the fact that almost 100% of employers want that for their employees, they're telling us that they find some value in it, right? They know that it's good for their look, it's good for their brand, and they know that the employees want it because they're offering it. So just kind of something to think about, right? And we can go through this, a verification of my skills. 40% of the people think that that's what it does. It validates, their skill set. You get down to the bottom. It's interesting because, why do we go to college and get a degree? Why do we get certain certifications? We always think it's to make money. But some of the reasons that individuals like all of yourself on this call, the certification actually does some other things for you. The salary increase falls on the bottom of really what's most important to professionals out there when it comes to certifications. So here's a quick slide of some of the top certifications held by Microsoft professionals like yourself. The Dynamics 365 Fundamental for the CRM, as well as the same one for the ERP, fall very high on the coveted list of individuals. I think you kind of go down and you find the the finance operations app, not quite as utilized. but I'd be interested as we get to the Q&A to figure out where some of you fall. Maybe some of you can pop in, the different types of certs that you have or the ones that you seem to find more relevant. That would be great to talk about that when we get to that point.
All right, so moving on to job satisfaction. What makes employees happy in their workplace? For employers, if you've been asking yourself, what do employees want? The list can help provide you with possible answers. Most people seem to be dissatisfied with training and development opportunities, for example. Look for any current gaps you have and think about how you can fill them. With just over 50% of perm employees expecting to work for their current employer this year, doing so could be one of your top priorities. So in terms of the movement in the Microsoft ecosystem, understanding why people are leaving their current roles can help set better attraction and retention strategies, especially in such a talent-hungry market. It's never been more crucial to adapt. And I think we can all agree that the most employees are looking for further growth, development, and ultimately better compensation to reflect this. Hiring new talent will always be more expensive than retaining your current team. So any investment you make in the area will benefit your business in the long term.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So, movement in the Microsoft ecosystem, and yeah, we love that word ecosystem. You're going to see that probably a couple more times on this slide. But people are moving around, candidates are moving. Like, that's why we have this call. Talent is short. The reasons why professionals, bounce around is it varies, right? So we're trying to just inform you. So look at that first point there. 56% of professionals in permanent roles expect to work for their current employer in the coming year. So that tells me that almost 50% of people don't expect to work for their current employer, which is probably concerning for any employer on this call. Probably gives, a little food for thought to individuals that are actually very happy in their job right now. And they probably will think about some of the things that make them not want to fall into that other half percentage there of individuals that are looking for a new role. And then other times, kind of moving over to the, 28% of professionals in a perm role would consider a freelance or going to a contract or something of that nature for multiple different reasons. So there's a lot of reasons people are moving around, but they are moving around. So this is why we're here talking to you, because we want to try to give you some of those advantages so you know what candidates are thinking when they're looking to make their next move. And I'll touch lastly on that 68% of end users, employees, would consider moving to a partner or a cloud solution provider in some nature. So that's really interesting in itself, right? You're working for the same company for a long period of time. The technology is the technology, but you're not getting exposed to new environments. So maybe that's one of the reasons you prefer to work for a partner. They have multiple end user customers, and maybe you get some exposure, but you still have the stability of not being a contractor. So just something to think about. That's 68%. So why are professionals considering moving from a permanent role to a role with a partner? Here we go. Higher earning potential, right? It seems like it's always about the money, but we start to realize as we kind of dig into this that it's not always about the money. Money is definitely a driving factor, but diverse range of projects, which we mentioned on the last slide. Different types of challenges arise when you're working with different end users. Just professional development, opportunity to expand your skills, get exposure to different Microsoft products. That's not always afforded to you in a single environment. Working with a variety of organizations and, potentially a more flexible lifestyle, debatable, I guess, depending on who you work for and what the scenario is. But you can see the reason maybe some people are moving, mostly the driving factor to move to from an end user to a partner seems to be the higher earning potential that partners are offering. So why are people considering moving to maybe from a permanent role to a freelance or a contract? Again, higher earning potential. I think anybody who's ever done contract work realizes that you can probably make, I would say, 15 to 25% more on an hourly rate versus what would equate to your salary if you broke that down hourly. Now, there's other things to consider like benefits and stability and things of that nature, but the earning potential is definitely higher. For sure, there's flexibility in shorter engagements. Obviously, the project is crucial to an organization, so they're probably a little more flexible with the individual that can execute that project. We kind of go down the list here. Being your own boss is obviously something, especially if you go into that freelance capacity. Everybody wants to be their own boss in some form or fashion. So you see the percentages allocated with these different types of reasons why an individual would jump from maybe a permanent, what feels more stable, to something like freelance. So employee benefits and burnout. Being on the receiving end of a lot of conversations with candidates, like burnout is a real thing. So I'm kind of excited to get into that, but we'll start with the benefits here, right? Like, what are some of the benefits that individuals get from, working with a Microsoft business applications? They're obviously, laptops nowadays are almost like a guarantee. And, it's interesting to see that even gets brought up as something that, people even still talk about as a benefit. But nearly 2/3 of the organizations offer health and medical insurance. This work from home is going to be a topic as we get later into this presentation. It's the new normal, right? Like 65% of people, get the opportunity to work from home in some fashion. Training and development is definitely something that we have realized individuals covet within their employers, but it's not quite offered as much as you would think, or to the it's offered, but maybe not to the liking, or to the have the substance that maybe an individual wants from a training and development team inside their organization. So we'll hit upon that too. And then obviously bonuses, flexible working hours. These are just the new types of benefits and old types of benefits that we're accustomed to seeing out there. So real quickly, 35% of permanent professionals tell us they have experienced burnout in their current role, compared to a further 35% of freelancers. So the digital skills gap, I mean, it is unique out there. I think we've all, if we've been watching the news lately, we see the layoffs that are happening in the tech sector, especially around like technology companies. But as I started to see that happening, it was quite interesting to me. I heard some professionals talk about all these individuals that have been let go from the Meta and Twitter and Google and Microsoft, or any of these places, these big places. The smaller, less popular organizations that we are accustomed to think about or in our face every day still do need IT talent. Like, they still do need support. So the IT market is so tight, and there is such a gap that actually all this talent is going to be flooding the market soon, and it's going to kind of maybe just right it a little bit. So it's really interesting. Companies still do need tons and tons of IT talent, regardless of maybe some of the things that we've seen or noticed on the news lately. I feel confident that a lot of those individuals will land on their feet because the need is so strong. And if we kind of go through this real quick, attracting candidates the right skills, that's 50% there. Finding the right talent is time consuming. It definitely is. The gap is there, and then actually finding the right person that fits your environment is still a lofty task for employers. Qualified candidates, individuals in the marketplace, like all of these IT environments are are somewhat similar in nature, but then also somewhat different, which you all know. And finding like the right qualified person to support that your environment is can be challenging. There's a lot of competition. Obviously, technology is ever changing, and innovation is sometimes outpacing skills, which is when we go back to seeing why maybe some individuals like doing contracts, do they get exposed to different environments, which kind of keeps them more relevant potentially with the the innovation that is just nonstop. So these are all some really interesting things, but I will say, as someone who lives and breathes this, a lot of our customers are still coveting really highly qualified individuals on a day-to-day basis. So we don't see it slowing down. So attracting unemployed Microsoft professionals. Here's some of the top factors that are important to unemployed professionals when they're seeking a new role. A work-life balance. Isn't that something we all like? We all crave a good work-life balance. You got families, and I think that the pandemic kind of showed us that is possible. It's a little more possible to work from home and utilize a hybrid work policy. Good salary, obviously. You kind of start to come down this a little bit. Opportunity to work remote. Interesting that only falls into 40%, but I would think that would probably fall into work-life balance a little bit too. Having the ability to work remote would probably make that work-life balance, a little more desirable. So you can see some of these things, good benefits package falls pretty much right in the middle. 50% of people want a good benefits package. To others, it's not as important.
All right, so let's talk about salary. So compensation might not be the top priority for all employees, but will always be a key factor when it comes to employee satisfaction and talent attraction. If you haven't already done this, make sure you have a solid way of determining how your employees deliver during the year, such as KPIs. With periodic performance reviews, you can then measure your performance against these targets, whether you're an employee or employer, helping you benchmark your current salary against one that equals your experience and delivery. So moving on to attracting Microsoft talent. It's not just salaries that entice candidates to consider or accept a new role. Benefits are an integral part of the compensation package offered to employees. The top factors cited here reflect, once again, the change in priorities we've noticed during the pandemic and the Great Resignation. Most employees are looking for an employer who can support their well-being and work-life balance. They're seeking career growth opportunities and naturally to be motivated and compensated for their hard work through periodic bonuses. Now, moving on to DE&I. Diversity, inclusion, and equity has been at the forefront of topics in recent years. Giving equal opportunities for everyone to grow and prosper in the ecosystem isn't just the right thing to do, but it allows you to cast a wider net in the job market as well. We've seen some notable improvements over these years around this topic, but realistically, we know there's still a long way to go. If you don't know how to go about this, try starting small and eventually build upon the foundations that you've created.
That's great, Joe. Yeah. What do professionals suggest employers could do to become better EDI champions? And these are direct quotes from individuals that we've reached out to. Open communication about salary structures. Another individual said, develop programs to attract and retain diverse individuals. Sounds simple, right? But it's probably a little more, complex than that, right? Otherwise, we'd be in a much better place when it comes to ED&I. Full disclosure of everyone's salary. Very interesting, right? That would be something that I don't think a lot of organizations are accustomed to. I'd like my employer to offer a mentorship program and for them to have a more diverse leadership team, specifically in regards to race and ethnicity. So that was a systems manager here in the US. So all really good quotes from peers and individuals like yourself. You look over to the right there, 50% of Microsoft professionals believe their employer pays men and women equally. It's astonishing that is, it's still in my humble opinion, seems quite low. That's the narrative, that just over 50% feel that their employer is paying women fairly compared to their male counterparts. So, and then 13% of professionals believe that their employer could do more to champion equal rights. So, are professionals happy to work in the office 5 days a week? Look at this. Only 13% of the people that we've surveyed actually want to go in the office full time. But I think we talked about it, maybe a few slides back, where 50% of the people prefer this hybrid working policy. And I think that's what we've seen from a lot of our customers is that is where individuals are going, is that kind of hybrid. You get some of that work-life balance, that flexibility that is really needed and wanted by, some of the top professionals in the market. So you kind of, I think, prefer to work fully remote versus prefer to work hybrid. You're kind of seeing that the remote flexibility is important, but maybe it's not the end all be all. So I wanted to, employees have a new worth it equation. This was really interesting. We wanted to kind of document this particular quote that came through to us. It's what makes the opportunity worth it. In the past, it used to just seem like everything was about salary, but we are in a flexible, more comprehensive working environment with technology, leading the way. And all of you are technology experts that are on this call. It has created a new quote unquote worth it in the eyes, like that what makes it worth it has gone from, excuse me. Oh, sorry, that's an involuntary thing there. What's made it worth it for individuals is not just pay. It is all those things that we have been mentioning in the slides prior. So, in summary, develop your own or your employees' career progression routes. Know what you offer as an employer. Know what candidates value. Like we really do. Like I said, we don't think this presentation justifies what the career and hiring guide is going to offer you, and you should receive, an email to the link and within the weeks if you're on this presentation. But we do hope that it gives you some insight into just what is kind of going on in the Microsoft ecosystem, what is going on with candidates if you're an employer looking to hire some of the best talent, and what's going on if you're a candidate, with some of these employers and what's actually important to them. So with that, I want to leave some of you that are on this call with some different, here's some different, I'll leave this up for a moment, different places that you can go if you're, whether you've been in the Microsoft space a very short amount of time, a very long amount of time. And I think we could probably provide these to you. I'll leave this up there really quickly. These are different places that you can go to learn and enhance your understanding of whatever particular skill set you're in. I'll leave that there for a moment. So this is where we're going to take some questions. And I'll ask, there's an individual on the call that is actually from Microsoft, and I was going to love to get his perspective, as someone who works for the vendor and kind of comparing some of now I got a text that the Zoom dropped. Now, maybe that's just because he's a Microsoft person and he's used to Teams. I'm not sure. So Joe, if you're on, let us know if you happen to have fallen off and you can't get back in. That's okay. Robbie, Joe, and myself will kind of move forward with some of the questions that we've been fielding in the chat.
All right, so we have the first question. I've been hitting and going above all of my targets during the past year as a business applications professional, and yet I still haven't been offered a pay rise. Is there anything I can do that doesn't involve quitting this job? So talking about salaries can be not only tricky, but also nerve-wracking for many people. And realistically, this is a situation most employees face at some point in their career. So knowing how to tackle this conversation can be a game changer for you. My suggestion would be to record all of your achievements and any instances in which you went above and beyond your normal job responsibilities. For instance, one thing you can do is pick up extra responsibilities and duties, or anything that you've been proud of how you've handled a particular challenging situation. Anything that showcases your hard work and that is solid proof of you deserving a pay increase, including any kind of KPIs that you've been hitting consistently and any positive feedback you've received from your boss. You can also use our salary guide as a guide to show, just what people are being paid on average in the role that you're currently in your area, especially if you think that you're being underpaid at the moment. Having all this information at your fingertips can make it easier to bring this topic during your one-on-one and annual review, or to help facilitate the process for both you and your employer.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. What's kind of funny is, in my experience, we obviously have the salary. You brought up our salary guide. We have the salary guide for obvious reasons, and it's kind of funny how employers have come back to me in the past and said, "Your salary guide is making all these candidates come back to me and asking for a raise." So it's good for the candidates, which is what we want. But it's there to kind of give you an idea of what the market's bearing, and I have had it backfire a couple times where some employers are like, "Come on, like you just put me in a difficult conversation," but we want everyone to know what the market's bearing. So
Absolutely.
see what other questions we're getting here. Again, I would say put them into the chat if you've got if you have the questions.
All right, I see another one in there now. What's your best tip for someone that is currently unemployed but wants to up their chances of hiring or finding a job soon? So in my personal opinion, being unemployed doesn't necessarily have to be a halt in your career. You can use it as an opportunity to, use your time and energy to increase your competitiveness as a candidate through upskilling, online courses and certifications, as well as networking. Just to focus all of those factors that will make your resume stand out to employers. Most employed professionals lack the time or energy to really focus on any of those things. So making the best out of this situation can be a really good opportunity for you to steer your career in the right direction, and not to mention give you the chance to work on your professional development as well.
Yeah, good answer. Joe, anything you want to add?
So a question just came through. How big is the need in the USA? Chances to switch from Germany to the USA? Robbie, you want to wait on that?
Yeah, so the USA, has been booming since COVID, really kind of slowed down a bit. We've seen a huge spike in the business applications market, both contract and permanent. A lot of companies that kind of put their implementations on pause because they were unsure of, what the future held because of COVID, have since, stopped those pauses. And then a bunch of organizations that were, never even on Microsoft business applications prior, they might have been on a legacy system, a different ERP, are now switching over to Dynamics because of its user-friendly, interface and how it kind of like integrates with all these other Microsoft business applications.
We obviously utilize third parties a lot, and I don't want to quote this because I'm going to get it accurate, but it's more for the just like a talking point. So I think it was in November, it was brought to my attention that just on all the job boards alone, I think it was like 18,000, dynamics or business application roles were posted in November alone in the US. So like, that's not including Azure, certain things. So like the need is out there. So I think that the US market is still very strong when it comes to Microsoft talent and the shortage.
Awesome. So I see another one that just popped up. How would you recommend a professional new to the ecosystem gain the experience needed and land their target role, i.e. as an admin, developer, etc.? I would say through certifications, networking, taking the time to, understand each of the, whatever product it is that you're trying to gain experience in. There's a lot of online courses on Microsoft's website, as well as LinkedIn courses that show you how to, like just kind of take you through each of the different applications. So starting off somewhere like there, you can also, get a job as, like a lower level admin developer where, you have someone above you that can help, to mentor you, steer you in the right direction.
Yeah. Good answer. Hope that helps. I think another one coming in here. So what advice would you give to a company that is swamped but needs to hire and is having a tough time finding the balance between retaining good talent and not breaking the bank? Well, that is the ultimate question, isn't it? What everyone's trying to solve. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't want to talk, or does anyone have a Joe, Robbie, any thoughts necessarily?
Yeah, I think for me it would be, and I think the facts kind of played out in what we presented earlier was just, culturally, is what's the culture like in the organization? Is it more, I think most of the people polled were looking for like a hybrid situation. So I think that if the company offers some flexibility into kind of a hybrid type model, there's a culture, a really good culture of growth and investment in the talent. I think that people truly value that, and that could be a huge attraction to the organization. So there's some things that we presented earlier that around those types of things that can really attract a lot of talent to the organization. Robbie, any other thoughts on that?
No, not too much. I would say that, like if you are an organization that, you feel like you are swamped, kind of, you want to invest in your employees and show them that, like you care and you want to keep them there. So trying to maybe like, pass off some of the responsibilities to other people to, make it so that you're not necessarily like, drowning and not giving your employees the time that they need to develop and, progress in their careers.
And I think as an employer, a lot of that comes down to like good budgeting and project scoping, right? Like I think the reason maybe an organization might break the bank is because individuals that maybe don't understand the technology try to roadmap some of the projects that they put forward, and then they go over budget, and then that becomes quite complicated, and you got to finish, and you're already knee deep. So, leveraging people that have experience with road mapping and scoping projects will probably also help prevent maybe those nothing goes perfect, right? But sometimes we see projects, I don't want to say go sideways, but like don't have the foresight that they expected, and then it costs them a lot of extra money to see it through. So we'll give it a minute, see if anyone comes up with something new. we still have a pretty significant amount of people on the call, so I want to make sure we give everyone a chance to say something here. Don't be shy.
Robbie, the question came up about the hiring cycle has changed the last few years. Can you describe a little bit of how it's changed from your perspective and any predictions for hiring trends in the future?
Yeah. So with that, obviously the pandemic has completely transformed the hiring process, making today's hiring cycle a lot quicker than it was, say 3 years ago. For example, it used to take an average of around 6 weeks from the time that a client registered a job to successfully placing a candidate with them. It now takes just 4 weeks, which is a 33% reduction in time. With the increase in remote work, businesses have also now have ample opportunities to increase their reach in terms of hiring and talent. With a wider pool of talent, both in terms of diversity and geographic location, it's giving businesses added opportunity to find the right talent. And all these changes have led to a faster, more efficient hiring process and cycle. So it's surprising if that would disappear in the future. But rather we expect more businesses to take up these innovative ways of hiring, as they will look for additional ways to find the right talent, especially in a competitive hiring market like technology.
So Robbie, a lot of candidates said, I would love to work with Dynamics, but I don't have much experience with tech. Are there any steps that you'd recommend for that?
Yeah. So, considering that most candidates in the hiring market will have will have some kind of experience with tech, you'll need to make some extra effort to stand out. One way of doing so is to get certified, like I mentioned earlier. This won't just help to show potential employers your knowledge is in line with the latest industry updates, but it's likely to showcase your soft skills as well. Undertaking some of these certifications will put your dedication to improve on display, which is something that employers will find attractive, especially in the tech industry. Something else you might want to consider is getting in touch with a nonprofit organization to see if they require any kind of volunteer assistance with any kind of infrastructure. It might be an easy way to find. It might not be easy to find one, but once you do, you'll have the opportunity to work with the product firsthand while adding real-world experience of the product to your resume as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Robbie.
Of course.
Yeah, another one came in the chat here. We have, since so many professionals are considering making the switch this year, how would you recommend someone switching from a permanent employee to a contractor prepare for that change? What can the new contractor expect to change in their working experience?
Yeah, so I can take that one. If you are looking to move from a permanent employee to a contract employee, one of the biggest things you can prepare to get ready for that is, opening up your own corporation. From there, usually connecting with a recruiter like Nigel Frank. We do work with a ton of organizations that are looking for contract employees, so it'll make your search a little bit easier. So you're not just kind of blindly going out trying to find a contract. Because most of the time, if you look on any kind of job boards, the majority of the roles that you're going to see on there are full-time roles. So not many organizations will post for contract opportunities. So pairing up with the right recruiter that can go out and kind of find the perfect role for you based on your skill set.
That's a good answer. What I would add to that, Robbie, is obviously if you're going from perm to a contract, everything that Robbie said is completely accurate. I would just say, piggyback off a comment he made about aligning yourself with the right recruiter, whether you're going to make a change at all. We go online and we see lots of of openings, right? But when you apply to a job online, the truth of the matter is you go into a database and you could be the best person for that role. You're absolutely the perfect person. But as the person on the receiving end, are you the 121st person that applied and they're sifting through a lot of like B or C players that are fit for their role and they just decide to reach out? So the odds of the actual best candidate that applied for the role getting the job is really hard when there's hundreds and hundreds of candidates. So when you align yourself with a good recruiter or a good account executive within an organization like ours, we have pre-existing relationships with clients. So when they go through someone like us, we present them with the best candidates for their role. We don't present them with the first 3 candidates for their role because they were the first 3 that came into the database or they're the last 3 that we saw. So just kind of something to think about is if you can align yourself with a really talented, recruiter or account executive or individual with a company like ours, there are relationships there and there's exclusive relationships there that give you an opportunity to be one of 3 trying to get a job versus maybe one of 300 trying to get a job.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, you can expect a little bit more flexibility than, especially if you're coming out of, the partner channel. You'll be able to kind of, choose the project that you feel you're the best fit for, from, interviewing for a few different ones, as opposed to just being assigned whatever project, is the biggest one at your current company. Right, and then we have another question. Any online self-paced training that will assist with dynamic certifications besides Microsoft Learn? Be honest, outside of Microsoft Learn, I would say, LinkedIn has some that will help you with the certifications, but Microsoft Learn will be like the primary one that you're going to find the most outside of, maybe doing some kind of like YouTube videos. But Microsoft Learn has a ton of information on there that will definitely help you out. And I know LinkedIn has some as well.
So we're kind of coming up here on the hour. We don't, if anyone wants to pop in one final question, we can try to tackle that. Otherwise, again, the whole point of this is everybody that signed in and registered for this is going to get a link to our career and hiring guides, which will be launched sometime later next week. We definitely want to follow up with all the individuals on this call to see what you think of it, see how it benefits you, help us come up with new ideas, things to input into the one for 2024. We're always trying to, put ourselves out there. We're always trying to add value into the Microsoft market in any shape or form. So, myself, Joe, Robbie, very easy to find. Like, track us down if you have any questions specific. Talk to someone in Nigel Frank, whoever called you to, ask you to come on to this, like ask them about, talk to them about the career and hiring guides. Maybe we'll follow up with you ourselves to kind of get your input. So, we take this seriously. We want this to be a beneficial thing for everybody out there. And we use it as a way to differ and show that we're not just, a run-of-the-mill staffing company. We're a very niche Microsoft focused organization and we want to be experts in that field. So with that, we thank you. We appreciate it. Joe, Robbie, thanks for the help there. Everybody that signed in, stayed for the hour. We appreciate you as well. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
See you.